Good evening, this is BelGeode and we are back with some more X-Plane 11 in virtual reality. Howdy folks, and we are back here in X-Plane 11, and tonight we are in Utah, in Monument Valley. Now if you watched the last episode, I showed off a Frank Dianese scenery, most notably the Everest 3D Park. This is the work that he's done in collaboration with Orbx, and this is Monument Valley. And we're going to be exploring Monument Valley on our way south to Sedona, Arizona in this bad boy right here. This is the brand spanking new AOA Simulations RV8 and RV8A. The only difference between the two aircraft is the fact that one is a tail dragger and the other is tricycle gear. Just about everything works on this thing with some caveats which I will go into in a little bit later. But as you can see, as I've done my controls wipeout and checked my levers and everything's looking pretty prime time. So, as I started to explain earlier, tonight we are going to be traveling from this Monument Valley scenery all the way south to Arizona. So let me kind of show you here on the map. And let me just put that right there. We'll stretch that down, pull this across. Okay, well, it looks like X-Plane's map is a little bit cut off, but you can see where we are here. So, in lieu of the X-Plane map, let's pop up good old Sky Vector, and we can see our journey on there. Okay, so what you're looking at here in your top center of the screen, we are there. That is Monument Valley. And from Monument Valley, we're going to be heading almost perfectly due south to the waypoint known as Ziggy. And then we're going to be hanging a right, and it's going to be a straight shot to Flagstaff, Arizona. Once we reach Flagstaff, we're going to overfly the airport and dogleg a little bit to the left, and then we're going to land at Sedona, provided, of course, we can get over the mountains and everything. Oh yeah, and don't mind that funky little polygon in the center there in the middle of our route. It says Sunny MOA. Yeah, that really should not be an issue. We're in X-Plane, so we won't have to worry about that. I'll explain what all of that is later, but for now, let's go ahead and get this bird started up so we can begin our journey to Sedona. All right. Hey, look at that. There's a dude with what appears to be a kayak in tow. I wonder where he's planning on sailing that. That's interesting. Okay, well, the weather is perfect today. We couldn't ask for better weather here in the southwest. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing I do notice, the little controls here, yeah, they're kind of small. Usually you see the whole switch lit up, but hey, that works. Hey, look at that. That's pretty cool. So there you go. There's information for AOA Simulations, in case you were curious. Got our fuel on, and we also need the fuel cock. We're going to set it to the left tank. I'll switch it in the middle of the flight. We'll get our mixture up. And let's see, we've got full tanks. All right. More than enough to make it this journey. Okay, now, listen to this. This is cool. Here.
Clear the prop!
Is that not the coolest thing? I love that. All right, let's turn our magnetos on to both and hit the start. Woo! There's a nice lively start for you. Holy crap, that is loud. What awesome. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. Alright, let's get the avionics on full. And this is probably one of the very few complaints that you will see me have with this aircraft. These monitors that we're looking at, the G1000 and even this one up here, are not fully interactable in VR. Like, we can hit the flight plan button, but I can't do anything with the flight plan because I can't hit the little center button in that knob that turns on the cursor. So, unfortunately, what I have to do is I have to hit the center of the screen, And you can't see it right now because since I'm in VR, not all of my screen is being mirrored. So right above where the camera is, I am currently setting our current leg, which is going to be to the Ziggy waypoint. So as soon as I'm done with that here, I will close out the window and we can go back to there and you'll see that we're already set for Ziggy. Now we're going to need to do the same thing with the G1000, so I'm going to hit the center, and you can barely see it off to the left of the screen there, so what I'll do is I'll actually drag that one onto the screen so you can see what I'm doing. And real quick, how we're going to set this up, since I already have the flight plan in, we're going to hit the cursor to turn it on, and then we'll move it forward to Ziggy, we'll hit the menu button, and enter to activate leg. And that's it. So we can close the flight plan now, and we can also close the window. So there we go. A little bit of an annoyance in VR because I have to take off the Oculus Rift in order to see that. Hopefully that'll be something that'll be fixed. I do, however, need to zoom this out a little, so let me see. We'll go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notches should be good. Yeah, we can see Ziggy at the bottom there, so that's perfect. That will work. Alright, so close that back up. Hopefully we won't need to open that up again because it does get annoying having to lift up the Oculus Rift to do that. Alright, so we're waiting for our oil temperature to go into the green. That is the third from the bottom bar. So we've got like a minute or so. We should probably take the time to get the rest of everything set up here. One thing we are going to do, we're going to go up to a cruise altitude of about 12,000 feet. So you can see where we are right now. And I'm going to use this little knob to the right. Got to hold it down there. I think I missed, so we'll backtrack a little bit. Oop, now we're too low. Go up a couple notches here. There we go. Okay, 12,000 feet. That is going to be our cruise altitude for this flight. And that's all we need to set for now. After we take off, we can engage the autopilot, and you will see that the autopilot does work quite well with this thing. Now, since we are going to 12,000, we're going to need oxygen. This plane comes with oxygen. It's not like the AW139 that we flew in Everest, and there's no Buddhist monks over here for me to buy oxygen canisters off of, so I'm really glad for this. This is great. All right, let's get our taxi lights on. And might as well put the strobe on because, to be honest with you, the end of the runway is right there. And we're just going to turn around and head out to the north. As you can see, the windsock says the wind is coming from the north. So, yeah, that works perfectly in our favor. All right, I would say we're pretty much set. Okay, oil is in the green, so we are set to go. Let's get rid of our parking brakes. And since we're on a gravel parking area here, we're going to need to give it a little bit more throttle to move off. Alright, so the last thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to close our canopy. Incidentally, this is a two-seater, so you can carry a friend if you've both got like Smart Copilot or JoinFS or something like that. And there we go, canopy is closed and locked. Let's get our flaps down one notch. You'll notice on the PFD it says takeoff. So yeah, we are pretty much set to go, so everything's looking good. I say it's about time for us to begin our journey. You know what it's time for, folks? Brakes down, throttles up, and away we go. One thing I will say about this aircraft, even though it is an experimental and thus, is not like the most high-performance aircraft, it still has a lot of get up and go to it. I'm quite impressed with it. They definitely managed to nail the power performance that this thing actually has. Alright, I'm not ready to turn on our autopilot just yet because we're still heading to the north and we need to be heading to the south. So let's fix that right now. And believe it or not, folks, that is just about all the aerobatics that you're going to get out of me today. So our autopilot is on, or at least the pitch hold. So we're going to need to set up our VS, but first let me kind of lower our angle of attack here so that way we're not going down too low in airspeed. Let's set up the VS. And now we can bring that down a bit because it is a little bit high. Eventually we will need to lean the mixture a little bit and change the propeller pitch and all of that, but I'll go through that in a bit here. Just make sure everything is looking kosher. It is. We're not quite ready to put on the nav hold just yet. We're going to go past Monument Valley before we do that. And actually, there you go, you can get a pretty good look at Mr. Dianese's work. Now, one thing that you will notice when I do those little flyby shots is a small thing that I do have to complain about as far as the audio on this aircraft. The audio is, for lack of a better word, perfect, except for one minor thing. You notice on the flyby, there's no Doppler effect, so I'm not quite sure what the story is behind that. But I think if that gets addressed, then this thing will be pretty perfect as far as, how it sounds. It really does feel like your typical piston engine aircraft that you'd find in an experimental craft such as this. Alright, we are just over 10,000 feet, so we've got 2,000 to go. Let's go ahead and turn off our landing/taxi lights. And we're still doing good on speed, so that is fine. You can see how much time we've got left to get to Ziggy. Not a whole heck of a lot. We should be there shortly. And by that time, we should also be at our cruise altitude, so say your last goodbyes to Monument Valley and Mr. Dianese's work. as we head over to Arizona, which is being provided to us by the ever-popular Forkboy 2. So his US Orthos is what we're using for pretty much the entire state of Arizona, not including Sedona, of course. Alright, we are a little high up, so let me go ahead and get that mixture lean. And we'll start with the prop pitch first, so I'm going to pull that back slowly. I'm going to set us up at around 2400 RPM, and I've had like a brief glance at what the figures should be when you're at cruise. 2400 should be just on the edge of the little green arc, so we're going to keep it right there. It might dip down a little to like 2390 or 2380, but that's fine. I can work with that. Alright, and now that we have that set, we can pull the throttle back to its cruise setting, which is just before the detent in my Cytec X52. And now, we're going to get the mixture back. Here's where the fun happens. Look at the Egt gauge, which is the second from the bottom. It is really climbing. It's probably going to go into the red for a second there. But we're just going to keep pulling it back. We want it to be just into the green on the lean side of the mark. So right about there should be perfect. Okay, so what this will ensure is that we will be sipping gas for the entire way to Sedona, which is just how I like to fly. I'm not in any rush to get anywhere, and while I could take this time and do a whole bunch of aerobatics for you and show off the blue and red smoke canisters that this thing comes with, I don't really feel it's necessary for this video. We'll save that for another time when I plan on doing some more shenanigans for you. But we are at cruise, engine is set. How about we go back to the outside for a little? Okay, so we are officially into Forkboy country. You'll notice that the terrain coloration has changed. There should be an airport up ahead over by Ziggy, or actually just before we reach Ziggy. So we'll have to see if we can find that, and we'll use that as our reference point here before we get into those other mesas across the way there. But yeah, this is all ortho, and this is all Forkboy's ortho, so you know that he did all the color matching and everything. Oh, there's the airport. Perfect. Perfect. Doesn't look like there's much there, but you know what? It'll work for our purposes as a landmark, so that'll be fine. But yeah, just to remind you, US Orthophotos by Forkboy is free. However, just because it's free doesn't mean you get a free pass. If you want to use it, you have to not only download it, which oftentimes it can be upwards of like 2-3 gigs, but then you have to convert it. We just passed a lake before we hit this airport here. I wonder if that's where that guy with the kayak was taking his kayak. Alright, but there's our little airport. Yeah, it's a default X-plane airport. There's really nothing there, so nothing really to see here, folks. Looks like we do have another airport along the way, however, so hopefully that one will have been built up a little bit more. I know that Laminar Research is really proud of showing off just how many airports they've got on the Scenery Gateway, and how many they've upgraded to have 3D buildings and so on and so forth. But don't let that fool you. There are still a ton of airports around the world, and particularly some of the smaller ones here in the US, that still have no love at all. Now, I've been trying to fix that. If you've been a long-time viewer of this series, you know that I've been working on some of the PA airports. Obviously, that's fallen by the wayside over the years. You know, I'm just too busy to do everything. But I do plan on going back to that at some point in time, and then eventually putting those up on the website for you to download for free. And there are a couple of friends of mine, a good buddy of mine, Matt Schultz, has also been working on some of the PA airports, so I can point you in the direction of his airports if you're interested in flying some of the smaller strips around Pittsburgh and southwestern PA and so on. But we are here in southwestern USA, and we're officially in Arizona. I have to admit, I might not know much about the airports or even the topography of this area, but I am forever fascinated by flying over it, whether in real life or in a flight sim such as this. Okay, folks, we are on to our second leg. We've just passed the Ziggy waypoint, and now it is the straight run over to Flagstaff, Arizona. Now, I had alluded to the fact that there was another airport up ahead. You can see it right there, and I'll be honest with you, this one is even worse than the one that we just ran into before Ziggy, because it's got the stock runway and taxiway that you get in X-Plane 11. Like when you've got default X-Plane 11 and you're at an airport that they have done no work for whatsoever, that's pretty much what it looks like. So yeah, I'm hoping that somebody is gonna like take on a task of doing smaller airports for Arizona. If not, I'm hoping Laminar will eventually get to it. But yeah, fun. I guess the airports aren't the high points of this trip today. So yeah, folks, I can't even be bothered to look up what airport that is. You know how normally when we fly over an airport, I'll like flash a little comment at the bottom right to tell you what airport it is? I can't even be bothered this time. So you'll have to look it up for yourself. You know where it is on the map. You can find it, I'm pretty sure. But here's a fun little thing that you can do. You remember our little sky vector map, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm just going to zoom this out a little bit because I'm going to need it for my explanation coming next. Alright, so you remember on the little sky vector map, it showed our course, which is of course exactly what you're seeing here in X-Plane, and you remember that it went through that little weird polygon shaped thing that said Sunny MOA. Well, if you punch in my departure and destination from Monument Valley to Sedona, it will actually route you around that box. You're probably wondering, well, why would it do that? That's because Sunny MOA stands for Sunny Military Operations Area. In other words, we're going to be flying through what is technically considered restricted airspace. And I just realized that my transponder is currently off, so I might want to correct that. So let's go ahead and pull up the PFD. I will, of course, drag it into view so you can see it while I take off my Oculus Rift. Alright, let's see. We want to set transponder to Alt, I believe. So we'll hit the little button at the bottom. And we'll look for Alt. There it is. Okay, we'll hit the back button. And finally, I can close this out. Okay, so our transponder is going. We are now squawking 1200, which is standard for all general aviation aircraft with no issues. But we are still about to do something that I have to give you the disclaimer. Kids, if you ever get into a real cockpit, don't try this at home, okay? So yeah, we're going to fly through a military operations area. Typically, this is a huge no-no, but since we're an X-plane, we can get away with it, so I'm not worried about it. I am, however, going to flip our tank. So if you look closely, you'll see the left tank has drained a little bit of gas. The right should catch up with it. And then if we lose too much gas in the right tank, I'll flip it back over to the left. But I think this should be fine for the journey since we're sipping gas anyway. Okay, yeah, this is pretty much what I expect out of the Southwest. It looks like a whole lot of nothing. You know, you got some variations in colors here and there, your greens, your browns, and so on. But I think probably the most interesting thing about this terrain is just that, the terrain, and the great difference. Wait a minute. Is that a contact? Holy crap, I haven't seen a contact show up on any TCAS in so long. I actually forgot what other planes look like. Okay, so there's something behind me at about 17,000 feet above. Is that what that read? I don't even know. That's cool. Huh. Almost completely forgot that I set AI in this thing. Oh, wait a minute. What is this? There's another contact way off to the right. That one's above me, too. Okay. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Really don't recall setting any AI. Like, I don't set airliners or anything like that. Okay, then. So yeah, I started to say before I got distracted by what's going on my G1000 that I really love the terrain differences, and of course having mesh like Alpilot's HD mesh really does make the difference and really makes everything pop when you put Forkboy's Ortho on top of it. Alpilot has of course stopped making mesh, but that is still available for download, and I believe it is pretty much required if you're going to use Forkboy's Ortho, so I highly recommend it. You can see just how beautiful everything looks out there. It's really awesome. It's desolate, but it's awesome. And I'm actually kind of curious. Are you seeing lights? Am I seeing things? I'm pretty sure I saw like a flashing light back there. I thought that guy was way above me. What in the heck is going on here? Huh. If I didn't know any better, I'd say they were tailing me. But, nah, there's no reason to get paranoid or anything. Yeah, he's definitely lower than he was before, and even though there are nearby airports, it doesn't quite look like he's on an approach vector. Yeah, no. That guy's tailing me. There is no two ways around it. That guy is tailing me. Yeah, those lights are awfully close. I don't think he's coming in for a landing anyway. So there can really be only one explanation, folks. I am currently being intercepted by the military for being in this military operations area. And look at that. See, the other guy's coming up too. There's two of them. Now I know I'm getting intercepted, but there's both him and his wingman. Oh, boy. Well, you know what? I'm just going to keep flying casual. Just call me Han Solo for this episode here. I'm just going to act like nothing's wrong. You know, it's a beautiful afternoon. We're just flying through an MOA. Hey, the quickest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But once again, I will remind you, don't ever try this at home, kids. Oh, they are getting awful close. Yeah, this could hurt. So, yeah, just when you thought this trip wasn't gonna get any more interesting, yeah, we decided to go through the MOA, and look at that. That dude is on my 6. He could have shot me down by now. Although, I will say that typically, if you do happen to incur into a military operations area, they aren't going to shoot you down, especially if you're squawking 1200, as you should. But you might get in trouble anyway, and you will get escorted out. Holy crap, that was an FA-18 Hornet. Probably an F model if I had to guess. I didn't recognize the squadron though.
Civilian aircraft, November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo. You are currently trespassing in restricted airspace. State your intentions.
Oh boy. Well, the gig is up, folks. Looks like I've got to tell them something. Luckily, I have just the thing that I can tell them.
Civilian aircraft, Alpha Golf Bravo, please acknowledge.
Yeah, hi there. Navy fighter, I didn't catch your squadron there. This is Commander Egt Geode of the squadron, the Valkyries, VF-69. You might have heard of us. Yeah, I'm on the way to Sedona, Arizona on a ferry run. Is that okay with you?
Alright, Mr. Wiseass, you know what? I don't think I appreciate your tone. Do you realize what the penalties are for trespassing on military property, let alone impersonating an officer?
Listen, I have no reason to make any of this up, man. If you don't believe me, contact your CO. I'm pretty sure he will vouch for me, and he'll also tell you who this aircraft is registered to.
Listen here, sir. You're the one that's in the wrong, and I don't need you telling me how to do my job. Yes, I fully intend to check you out. In the meantime, you maintain your course. My wingman is right behind you.
Roger that, man. Do your thing. So yeah, this is getting more fun by the minute. I sincerely hope they're going to check me out though, because they will see that my story is 100% ironclad.
Civilian aircraft, Alpha Golf Bravo, I've been instructed by my CEO to interrogate you on things that only Commander Egt Geode would know.
Well yeah, I can play Jeopardy for a few minutes, just don't ask me anything classified or else I'll have to shoot you down. That's a joke, by the way. Well, so far I've done the standard name, rank, serial number, and all that. Let's see what they're going to ask me next.
So far, your answers check out, sir, but one final thing I need to ask of you. What is the password?
You are freaking kidding me, right?
That is what my CO said to ask you, sir. Now answer the question, please.
Fine. The password is Boomflowah!
Thank you, sir. That's what we needed to hear. We've now confirmed your identity. Hold, please. Our CO wants a word.
Striker, what in the blue blazes are you doing flying through my MOA unauthorized? You're lucky I don't have you shot down.
Colonel Grizzly, hey, sorry about that, sir. I should have figured it was you behind all the questions. Yeah, won't happen again, I promise.
See that it does not, Commander. Now get the hell out of my airspace. Raven 1, RTB.
Raven 1 is RTB, sir. Have a good day, Commander.
Well, that worked out a hell of a lot better than I thought. All right. And as it should so happen, we're just out of the MOA anyway, so it's not like they could have really done anything to me. Okay, well, now that we've got that drama out of the way, we are just about halfway to Flagstaff. So, now we get to kick up our heels and enjoy the rest of the flight, which should be considerably more scenic, as you can see up ahead. That, folks, is Flagstaff, and in the distance is the Flagstaff Pulliam Airport. And then off in that direction is going to be our final destination for the evening, which is, of course, Sedona, Arizona. And we should get there just in time for dinner. Now, you would think that after everything that we just saw, at least as far as the terrain goes, that this would be as good as it would get for Fork Boy. But now we can really get to see some of the beauty of Arizona. See all those verdant hills and everything, and that mountain off to the right-hand side and everything? That is where Arizona really starts to shine. And it's going to get even better once we actually pass Flagstaff. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flagstaff, Arizona, home to roughly about 71 or 72,000 people. And it's actually surrounded by volcanoes, even though the entire city is up at about 7,000 feet above sea level. Now, the green that we've been seeing throughout, all of those are pine trees. It's actually ponderosa pine forests, and Flagstaff is home to one of the largest ponderosa pine forests in North America itself. So it's a pretty cool area to hang out, especially if you're not a huge fan of deserts. It's got a little bit more color for you. Alright, let's see how much distance we've got left. We've got about 5.5 miles till Flagstaff VOR, and then another 18 until we are at our destination. So, we're almost there. This journey's just flying by, and hopefully we'll have less drama for the rest of it there. Looks like our gas tanks are just about even. You know what? I'm not going to switch it to the left tank. I'm going to leave it exactly as it is right there, and everything should be fine. Alright, so the next stop along our journey is the VOR right beside Flagstaff Pulliam Airport. So as soon as we get there, we will make our left-hand turn and begin the last leg over into that valley where Sedona is. So hang tight, folks. There's the airport and our signal to begin our left-hand turn. And another really cool thing that I should tell you about Flagstaff, if you happen to like snow and so on, yeah, this is the place in Arizona to be. Okay, right about now, we're going to begin our descent into Sedona. Let me just check, make sure everything is still looking good on our gauges. Yep, everything's still in the green. This is fine. There's a little lake over there. That's cool. That's actually the first large body of water I've seen for a while. Okay, to give you an idea of where we're going, you see that mesa up ahead? A little green one there, surrounded by the white. Behind that is Sedona. So that is our destination. So my plan is to bring us down, I want to say probably about 5,000 feet or close to that. That should be just low enough that we should skirt over the top of that mesa, and it'll put us right about close to pattern altitude to get into Sedona Airport. Alright, so let's see if we can nail this here. It's one thing I don't like about the way that they modeled the knob on that thing. It's not very precise. Alright, but let's set our VS up, and we're going to drop... What do we have there? Put the mixture back in while we're at it, since we're going to lower altitudes. Okay, almost. I'm thinking about 1,000 feet per minute descent should be pretty good. And then, of course, we have the throttle near idle, so we're good to go there. We'll keep our prop pitch exactly where it is. I really don't think we need to mess with that on our way down. Alright, so let's see what we got here. We're at 800. Let me drop it a little bit more. Weather conditions still clear, so it looks like we are good to go for our descent into Sedona. And actually, now you can start to see the airport. That's the really cool thing about Sedona's airport. It too is on a plateau, like the entire city is lower and around it, and then you got this little airport on a plateau. As we get closer, I'll show it to you in more detail. Alright, everything is looking good. We're slowing down nicely. We're below 10,000, so we'll go ahead and put our taxi and landing lights back on. And there is the mesa that I was telling you about. It looks like there's a whole bunch of them that are kind of identical. So they've got like the pine trees on the tops, and then the whole side of it just looks like a wicked drop. Wow. But that is what I consider truly beautiful about this part of the country. And I never would have even thought to come here had I not seen people like Frugal way back in the day during FSX videos on this. Now, this scenery that we're actually coming into is not part of Forkboy's scenery. This is actually Xcoder Designs scenery for Sedona, and actually I think they did it justice. They even got the little, what is that, Cathedral Rock or something on the other side. I'll have to look it up and tell you exactly what it's called there. But they just about nailed what the entire city looks like, and I have to admit, it is the perfect backdrop for a stellar landing this evening. So, all we need now is a stellar landing. Let's see how we're doing here. Speed is still looking good. Alright, you know what? We're getting close to our altitude, so let's get our autopilot off. And we're just going to point straight towards the rock on the other side of the airport, which, by the way, I believe is called Bell Rock. Sorry, folks, sorry. You knew it had to be done before the video was over. I had to go do some kind of shenanigans, but I promise that's the only aerobatics that you will see from me from here on out. But that does bring to mind something cool and interesting that I was thinking of doing, but I can't do that without your help. Since this aircraft is recently released, and I'm sure it's definitely going to be popular, I would love to do, or at least see, some kind of group get-together thing where we do like Reno air races or Red Bull air races, or maybe just like a cross-country tour in the form of a race. Of course, I suck when it comes to organizing these kinds of things, so don't ask me to put it together, but if that is something that enough people want to do, I will be more than happy to broadcast that on this channel. Alright, but we'll talk about that another time. For now, I've got our flaps down to approach, and our speed is pretty close to idle, so I'm going to need to pull it up a little bit as we get ready to make our turn into final leg of our flight today. As we're making our turn to final, let me just straighten this out here. Okay, so directly in front of us, that one is called Cathedral Rock. And then behind Cathedral Rock, a little further down, is that Bell Rock that I was telling you about. And yeah, that's Bell as in B-E-L-L, which I thought was pretty cool. And then way off in the distance, the other square-looking one, that is the one that they call Courthouse Rock. So yeah, pretty cool, very iconic structures in the area, and I imagine they come in as really good landmarks when you're making your final approach into this airport. So, for example, we know that if we hit Cathedral Rock, we've gone too far. Alright, but that's not going to happen today because we are turning to final right now. Thankfully, we don't need to put the gear down because, well, the gear is already down. But we do have our flaps to full, and everything is looking good. I'm just trying to keep the power up here because I believe we are a little bit below the glide slope. I took a quick glance at the approach charts and then promptly forgot them when I started recording this video. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in and welcome to Sedona, Arizona. Alright, let's see if we can bring her down nice and easy here. We're a little bit below glide slope, and I know that can be fatal in cases if you're not paying attention, but I think we've got it. So we're just going to gently ease her back. Alright, we made it, and I think this is our turn off here, so we will head over to Sedona Airport, find a parking spot, and we will call this episode done. Incidentally, a little bit of trivia for you. The town Sedona, or the city of Sedona, was named after Sedona Arabella Miller Schneble, who was the wife of Theodore Carlton Schneble, who was actually the city's first postmaster. Apparently, she was really good when it came to hospitality and industriousness, so they decided to name the city in her honor. So lucky her! I will say, I'm not a huge fan of deserts, but you know what? There is something about this place that really resonates with me. Maybe it's all the Native American energy that I'm feeling, which I believe they call that the vortices. But yeah, there's just something about this place that I would really love to visit in real life. But for now, X-Plane will have to do, and I'm really glad that I've been able to share the experience with all of you. Sorry folks, if there's one thing I've got to get right, it's my parking job. That's just my thing, that's my little OCD there. But it does give us an opportunity to take a closer look at the airport and look at all these little tires and stuff. I have no doubt that's probably there at the real airport. And I love when developers go the extra mile to include little details like that. That just makes it all worthwhile. And I gotta really take my purple hat off to Xcoder Designs for this work. This is breathtaking, especially in VR. When I was deciding whether or not I was going to do this episode in this plane or in another plane, I actually flew in here with the B-25, the CamSyn Studios B-25, and I was amazed. I was thoroughly amazed. So yeah, excellent job, Xcoders. Alright, but that's going to do it for us, so let's start turning everything off here. And we'll get our lights off. Whoa, and it just got louder. Alright, well, that is my cue to turn the engine off. That's a beautiful sound. That is a beautiful sound. Alright, well, just to remind you, we've been flying around in the AOA Simulations brand new rendition of the Vans RV8/RV8A. This bird is ready for prime time. A few minor things that I'm sure that they can fix, but honestly, I love this bird. This is awesome. And I really do want to go racing with you all in it. Alright, and of course we have been in Sedona by Xcoder Designs, and we were flying through the free Forkboy scenery earlier. And of course we took off from Mr. Frank Dianese and Orbx's Monument Valley. So, that will just about do it for me. Thank you as always for watching. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in X-Plane 11.33, the official version, not the beta version. It's now official. If you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will catch you on the next one. Ciao!